such a multifaceted problem, though, and it is important to note this because part of the reason for the rise of these incidents is the feedback loop that is being created on the internet, where people who are vulnerable go online, feel validated. This has to be solved through technology. There's mental health issues that need to be addressed, and yes, there are some things that need to be done relative to access to guns by mentally unstable people.
What you didn't mention there is also the rhetoric inspired from the top on this as well.
And I think that's fair.
And the research shows there's no real causal relationship between the mental health issues and these mass.
Oh, that's not true.
But the rhetoric from the top matters here. And a president of the United States has to understand that a moment like this is not an I moment in history, it's a we moment in history. And instead, we have a president who's creating photo ops, who's holding a baby, who's the survivor of a shooting and giving a thumbs up, who's attacking Democrats and politicizing this moment through the lens of an election. We don't have leadership right now.
If we want to talk about politicizing this moment,
Governor,
Beto O'Rourke, Beto O'Rourke in the last week, Patrick, has politicized this moment in an attempt
Beto O'Rourke is not the president of the United States.
Beto
O'Rourke is not president of the United States.
Beto O'Rourke wants to be president of the United States.
This is a moment
and the media is giving him time to do this, and he has politicized this moment in a way. What he should be doing is being a lot more thoughtful, like we just heard Senator Booker do. Now,
Governor,
I don't always agree with everything that Senator Booker does, but he's thoughtful on this issue.
But I can, some of us are old enough to remember that when we had a president of the United States named Barack Obama, and he dared to put his feet up on the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, conservatives and Republican leaders lost their hair and said that he was debasing the office. Now we have a president who in this moment has retweeted white supremacists, who has expressed sympathy for those who are espousing violent hatred in this country, and who has been inconsistent on leading on this legislation. We have to focus there, Governor.
Patrick is 100% right. A president of the United States has a responsibility with the office that comes in. Once you win that office and seek it, you have a responsibility to lead this country. At every moment, from the Challenger, 9/11, Oklahoma, to the Baptist Church in Charleston, to speak to the better angel of this country, that out of many comes one. This president, who was at one time a symptom of a problem, is now the cause of the problem. And he has, in my view, it's an incredible time here. He has a chance to actually raise his and use the presidential not only soapbox, but the voice and the moral voice. And he has abdicated the responsibilities because he is stirring and actually giving voice to the dark forces. He was once a symptom. He is now a cause of the problem.
But I agree the president should use different rhetoric often in these debates. George Bush was very, was the model for it, and President Clinton, others as well. But it's also important to note, you have a president calling for background checks, which is against where his party has been, which is against where other Republican presidents have been. That is real progress, and we have to give him credit.
We're talking about, great, but there's a moral component to this. I'll give you two juxtapositions, side by side on the camera. In Hong Kong, he is silent where he needs to raise his voice. Here at home, he is using a megaphone where he should be silent and hear what is happening to the anguish. This country used to assimilate people. Today, we alienate people. And that is a major crisis, and he has abdicated his responsibility that comes with being president.
And let's talk about how the president's responded to the crisis in the last week. The way he's responded to has been to visit El Paso, to visit Dayton, and to call against the wishes of the NRA, a Republican president that's called for universal background checks and a red flag law. Now, that's leadership too, Ron. And you can, listen, wait a second. You can say, and I have been critical, and I've been, Patrick, please. I've been critical of the president's rhetoric at times, as you know, sitting at this table. And I've been critical to him personally at times about his rhetoric. But this week, he has moved further than George W. Bush ever moved on this issue, than previous Republican presidents before George W. Bush ever moved on this issue. So if we're going to criticize the president at times, as we do at this table rightfully, then we need to give him credit this week for the fact that he's, in fact, trying to move the Republican Party in a different direction than it's been done before.
The president visited those communities and used the opportunity to attack and take on political opponents. influence and to launch a campaign-style video about himself. Let's be honest about what happened. Now, on background checks, Governor, you're spot on that the president has indeed said this, but this is the same president who, an hour from now, is probably sending another Valentine to the dictator of North Korea. We don't know where he will be on this policy. Let's see whether or not he's prepared to use his... He has, and then faded quickly. Let's see if he'll use his political currency and stare down Wayne LaPierre.
It's a different moment now. And I think, and I can tell you that the president has decided that he wants to move in this direction, and against not only the NRA but also people like Senator Paso, who's come out and said he didn't want to do it. But the question's still going to come down to Democrats, George. Are they willing to make a deal with the president?
Should ask Mitch McConnell to bring the Senate back from recess to start moving on these bills.
President Trump looked like the soldier in Hanoi who was saying one thing and his eyes were blinking in Morse code, a total different thing. Does he deserve political credit for taking on an NRA and moving the ball? Yes. Check. Is there a moral component